there. Welcome back to my channel. If you are returning, if this is your very first time meeting me, hey, I'm so glad that you stopped by and I hope that you stay a while. So, if you are just meeting me, I am an expat. I live in Malaysia and I am an expat coach and intercultural consultant. So, what does that mean? I basically help people who are wanting to live abroad. I particularly work with Fortune 500 companies that are sending people to live in a foreign country as a traditional expat on an expat assignment. Normally, those are 2 to 4 years, just depending on the country or the company. And I've been doing that for about 15 years. But I also work with self-initiated expats, which are individuals who are footing their own bill to move around the world. Um, and a lot of them are retirees. So when I originally moved to Malaysia, I did a video on how I found my first apartment. But now that I work with a lot of clients who are relocating and they're looking for apartments, I wanted to do a video on the real. Like, what is it like to try to find an apartment in Malaysia? And what will you get for, anywhere from 700 to $1,000? So, what I wanted to do was take you on an apartment search with me and show you what I see. Now, I will be totally honest. First, I want to give you what you would pay for just to actually establish a lease, right? So, in Malaysia, this is pretty standard. You're going to pay 1 month's advance rent, then you will pay 2 months security deposit, and then you'll also pay a half of your month utility deposit, and then you're going to pay a year tenancy agreement stamp, duty, and admin charges, which basically how they do it is they take your rent, they take it times the whole entire year, they divide it, and then they come up with an amount. And like, let's just say you were paying 3,500, you would then pay basically like 570 ringgit. Uh, so that is for your lease agreement. Those would be your upfront costs. Now, I have been told by some Malaysians that that's all negotiable. I've talked to realtors. They said that that's not negotiable, but I know a lady who reached out to me on my video stating that she has property. She does not request um but 1 month for the it's 1 month for the security deposit. So all things can be negotiated depending on who you're negotiating with. That's what I'll say. So basically, let's go over it again. 1 month advance, and you can do the 1 month advance to actually hold a particular property. Then once you go to do the signing, you would then pay the remaining, which is your two security deposits and the half a month utility deposit along with your stamping and admin charge. So that's what you would actually pay to get into an apartment. Your rent is negotiable. You can negotiate your rent in most cases. There are some uh, stipulations where some people will not, depending on the owner. And most of the time, you're dealing with an actual owner of property versus like in the States, you may go to an apartment complex and be renting from the complex. There are actual condos that, based off of what I'm familiar with, there are actual condos that do leasing. And so you can go to the management office and they will actually lease. But for the most part, you're actually doing your lease with an owner of that particular unit, and you make all of your arrangements with them through a realtor. So I want to preference that. The other thing that I want to preference is that you do have different type of properties as well. It's not just condos. And condos are basically high rises. And then they have amenities like your pools, they may have jacuzzi, saunas, gyms, and like game rooms and things like that. And they're often fully furnished with a guard that's there 24 hours. Some of them have concierge services. It just depends on how high end the actual condo is. So that's that. Um, the other thing that you need to know when you are renting, you may see something that says partially furnished. Now, that means just something different to everybody. But for Malaysia, it means that either so something is there in the sense of oftentimes it's just like a square box and you furnish it. That means you bring in it might be a stove or oven, it might be the um refrigerator, it might be washer dryer, right? So for some units, if they put in the entire kitchen, meaning everything other than the sink, so like normally the sink is standard, but if they put in a refrigerator and then you would supply your stove or oven, or maybe you do have a stove or oven and there's no refrigerator, that would be considered partially furnished, okay? For instance, in the unit that I'm going to show you, it is considered partially furnished, and you will see a washer and dryer. There's no refrigerator. You do have two eyes for your cooktop, but there's also, and you also have a microwave, but there's no actual oven, right? That would be considered partially furnished. There's no other furnishing in there that would actually come with the unit. So when you start adding beds and you start adding furniture like a couch, a TV, so on and so forth, that is going to be considered a furnished apartment. So I want to make sure that that's also clear because partially furnished means something different depending on where you are and where you're leasing. So I want to show you, this is a 2 bedroom unit that I'm going to show you again. It is considered partially furnished, so it will come with a washer and dryer. There is a microwave oven, and then you get your cooktop, which is a two-eye cooktop, not four like you are accustomed to in the US. Those are hard to come by here. So it does have a bathtub, which is not always standard, but a lot of the newer units are starting not to have a bathtub. But I love a bathtub. It does have a bathtub in the master bathroom. It is a 2 bedroom, and the price of this unit is going to range depending on if it's furnished fully or if it's partially furnished. So we're starting at about 3,000 ringgit and could go up to about 35 depending on the owner, maybe 38. So anywhere from 3,000 to 3,800. And so we're looking at, with just the price of, or the conversion rate, you're looking at 3,000 being about $665 US dollars to 3,800 being about $843, give or take. And that fluctuates with the price of the dollar and the currency exchange. So with that being said, let's go on a tour so that you can see what you would get in this complex. Now, I also want to preference that this complex has lovely amenities. The building was built in 2020, but because of the pandemic and just because of some development issues, it's set for a while. So there are some like infrastructure things that I would say are not that appealing to the eye per se. Like in some more upscale modern units that are built around the same time, you will see like marble floors and not to say because this unit does have marble floors, I believe, but just the polishings is what I'm trying to get at. Um, the units are centrally located in the embassy area and about 7 to 10 minutes away from KLCC, depending on traffic. Also, you're like across the street from a hospital, which comes in handy because I've had to go to the ER a couple times with my child. So you're centrally located to a smaller mall that has a grocery store and about 5 minutes away from a larger mall that has a grocery store as well. Not a larger mall, it's a mid-sized mall, but it has a theater, grocery store, things like that. So there are in a 5 to 10 minutes distance from these particular units, you will find about four different grocery stores. It is the embassy area, so you have a lot of expats in this particular area. It's right next door is a local Malay school. About 2 blocks over is one of the larger international schools, ISKL. Then you have down the street, about 5 minutes, is another international school. Then, about 7 minutes away, there is a British international school. So, as far as the area, again, it is heavily populated with expats of all different nationalities and countries that are represented here in this particular area. You also have the larger malls, which are not that far away. You have the KLCC Surya Mall, which is literally 7 minutes away. You have My Town. You also have the Pavilion, that's not that far, and the brand new mall, TRX, that is about, depending on traffic, is about 10 minutes away. So you are centrally located
All right,
and
so
it's a
you
good little
are going
area.
to
But I
enter
want to now show you
the
the
apartment,
actual
and here
unit.
is the main
Come with me.
bathroom that would be shared by anybody who came into the home, plus this particular second bedroom. You'll see that it has plenty of storage as far as closet space. This actually has dresses, uh, where mine does not. So you can actually have dresses. It's not a whole lot of closet space, but it's actually a decent sized room. The view on this particular side of the building is of the pool and a small lake. This is the master bedroom. It's not terribly big, but it should fit a king size bed. Again, you see the view of the amenities like the tennis court and the pool are below. This is your closet area. You have more storage than you would have in the second bedroom, but you also have a bathtub as well as a shower area. And I think the bathroom is a pretty decent size. You'll see the storage is it's a pretty decent amount of storage. Again, here you do have a dress closet where I don't have a dress closet, uh, and there's enough storage that you could like put luggage and stuff in the back. So I think this particular unit as a 2 bedroom actually has a decent amount of storage space. Now, I'm going to take you into, you'll see like when you first enter, you enter really into this large room, which can basically equip your living room as well as a dining area. And you can see that the view is of the pool area. So a dining room table could fit right here. You can have your TV on the far end as well as your sofa facing the television. But you can do that however you like. You still have a bar area so you can have more seating as far as dining. You have the laundry room, which comes with a washer slash dryer. I don't really like that because the dryer takes forever. And so now I actually have a dryer. But you can see that you have the 2-eye cooktop. You have a washer and dryer that is beneath. And then you have some drawers for your utensils and bags and things like that. And then you have your under counter area, which is pretty decent size. So that's pretty much it for this particular unit.
All right, so you got an opportunity to see another unit that looks a little bit different and has some different amenities or characteristics. Uh, what I will say is I have seen several apartments in KL, and it really comes down to what you're willing to pay for, what your wants and needs are, and where you want to be. So you may want to live in a more rural area of the city. You may want to live downtown, right in the middle of everything with all the things going on in KLCC. You'll have to figure out what you want, right? But what I am going to say, as a person who's been doing this for 15 years, who has lived in 3 different countries, I will say that you cannot compare where you're going to where you came from because it's a hard pass. You can't take America and put it into another country. There are some things that you're going to have to give and take and compromise on because sometimes your expectations are not going to be met. Am I saying that the quality of your life is going to be different? No, I'm not. I'm saying you can find really high end things and it's really about your budget, right? You can find some really nice places. They may be smaller than what you're accustomed to because oftentimes there are not really, really large places outside of the United States. We do things really big, right? Then what we are accustomed to as far as what we get, again, I went back and I talked about partial versus fully furnished. The expectation may be a little bit different. So, what I will lend to you is that if you're looking for a place to stay outside of your country of origin, wherever you're from, not lower your expectations, but step out of what you are accustomed to and look at what there is to offer. That's what I would say. I would say look at what the country has to offer, the standards, understand those, then go from there. Because I'll also say this that, especially for Americans, I'm American, so I can only speak for Americans and from my point of view, right? So, oftentimes Americans like really big things. They want a bunch of rooms, they want a roomy, spacious place, whereas you may not get that or you may get that and it may be an older unit. So adjust accordingly is what I'm trying to get at. And you left the country where you came from. for a particular reason, whether it's lower costs of living or whether it's politics or whether it's you just want to be in a different cultural area, you want different experiences, you want to travel more. So if you're not going to be always in this apartment or house or whatever, open your or broaden your horizon. This is what I want to get at, because if you're going to be traveling and you're not going to be spending like all your time in this particular apartment, then do you really need all these things? And mm, a lot of expats that I know, if they're not traditional expats where the company is footing the bill, paying for it, you get a certain budget and you can kind of, basically spend within that budget. And if you want to go over, that's on you. But for most people who are self-initiated expats who are either retiring, who are digital nomads, or who are just people who want to live in another country and they like that culture and they like the cuisine or whatever, they're moving on their own dime. And oftentimes it's because of the cost of living, especially if you're retiring. You want to be able to allow the money that you're receiving from your pension or from whatever to go further. That's the whole point of your mission, right? And so it's not about spending the same amount that you were spending in America. That defeats the purpose. So you want to think about that and think about if you're downsizing for a reason. If you are relocating and you want to save money, you may not get dollar for dollar. You may not get the same experiences, or you may not get the same size. Like you may have to get a much smaller unit. Or do you even need extra bedrooms? What are you doing? And what get back to your necessities is where I'm going with this. So you may need office space. Maybe you are still working, but you decided to downsize and move abroad. And so you're a digital nomad, or you own your own business, or you have a part-time gig that is supplementing the income for where you are currently staying. So you want to think about those things as well. If I can assist you with anything, my business is called Global Bound Consulting, and the website is here. But I hope that whatever you decide, that you think about the why. I tell the people all the time, why? Go back to your why, because your why is what is going to make or break your decision. And stay near and dear to your why. If it's saving money, save money. If it is to have a better quality of life and maybe upgrade because you can get something cheaper than what you were actually paying at home, and maybe an upgrade, maybe you'll be able to have a maid or a nanny or whatever, and you weren't able to afford that at home. That's your why, go with it. But I think just really understanding your why, and also, I'll leave this advice as well. Make a permanent decision based off of temporary experience. That's what I want to say. Because sometimes you expect this is where I'm going to retire and this is where I'm going to be. But maybe you haven't spent enough time in that particular city, or the last time that you were there, things were a certain way and it's no longer that way. And so if you're going to make a major decision based off of a previous experience, or the fact that you think this is going to be a end all be all situation, and you're gung ho that I liked it when I was traveling and living are two very different things. And I would say don't go in doing 2 4-year contracts on a rental. Go in, do your 1 year. A 1 year is enough time to say, okay, You got past the honeymoon experience. You've experienced the city outside of traveling, and this is not necessarily what I want to do. So I wouldn't suggest going in and getting a partially furnished apartment and then like furnishing it and paying all this money to furnish it. And then you get 6 months in and you like, I really don't like this city. Now that I have to live here. Again, living and traveling, two very different things. What else can I would also advise that you see several different units and you make your decision based off of that. For me, I saw one unit. I actually saw two units in the same building that were two different floor plans, but both were modern, both met all my needs and my desires. They were within my price range, and I didn't need to see nothing else. I happened to see other things because one of my friends who also moved here with around the same time, and we stayed in an Airbnb until we found our place together, and she had different wants, needs, and desires, right? So I saw some of the things, and it took her a little longer. It took her about a month to figure out where she was going to stay. She had an idea, and she had did way more research than I did, but she ultimately took a little longer to find something that met her needs. But the I looked up what I wanted, I went to go see it, and after I sat on it for 24 hours, I contacted the realtor and said, "That's what I'm going to do. What do we need to do to proceed?" And that was it. I didn't see a bunch of different stuff. I saw other things when I went to go view along with my friend, and what was seeing, I was like, "Oh no, I wouldn't stay here," where I was like, "Oh," because everybody has different needs and wants and desires. And so again, everybody has different budgets. And this doesn't make that good or bad. And some of the things that we were seeing wasn't based off of her budget or what she wanted. It was just those particular units were just not great units. And also, as Americans, we are accustomed, if you're renting from an apartment complex, you're not renting from a individual owner. You're renting from a company, and that company has certain standards, like the unit needs to be cleaned, the unit needs to meet certain standards, and there's things that you are accustomed to. Now, the apartments here are going to be clean when you move in, which is different from country to country. Because I know in Korea, they didn't clean the apartments. And you moved in, you was like, hold up. Y'all not gonna clean this? So you went in and you actually cleaned it. And that's a no bueno for me. Because I definitely wasn't accustomed to that. And yeah, but that's not for every place that you're renting in Korea. So let me just go ahead and preference that. But I know that the units that my schools provided did not always have the cleaning. And I know in other countries that's not always customary. So expectations that you would have in the country you coming from may not be the same thing that you get in the other country that you're moving to. So just keep that in mind. Those are the things that I would say, and I hope that helped. But until next time, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again. And I'm going to do some more videos around apartment searches in the same price range, and we'll move forward. But I hope that you like them. Again, like, share, and subscribe. And you can also buy me a coffee. So until next time, I'm Chop.